Hi, I'm Ben Turner, the Head of Learning, Resourcing and Talent at Well Pharmacy. Today I've been talking at the firm conference regarding Well's journey in terms of recruitment and a new ATS that we've had from WCN. Well Pharmacy was launched as a brand following the acquisition of Cooperative Pharmacy back in October 2014. So very much it's a new brand with a new culture, but with very much an existing heritage from the years and years of cooperative pharmacy that existed previously. So we're very much a new brand, however we're a really established business, so 7,000 colleagues, 780 store locations across the UK, serving 1.3 million customers per week. As I say, but with a very new brand, and that brings challenges because we have the volume recruitment at the same time with needs, obviously, that volume recruitment brings, but with an unknown and new brand, which we still are working on how we kind of solve that problem today. The other thing that we've got ahead of us are huge opportunities to really change our business model and how we approach recruitment across the business. And that's something we've been working on, which I can share over the next few minutes. In terms of where our workforce is based, we have over 6,000 colleagues in what we call our operations area of the business. So that's our 780 stores split across three divisions across the UK. And within that we've got 33 regions or areas across there. So that gives us the volume recruitment, so normally around 100 live vacancies at any given time. And then on the other side of the business we've got distribution, so our healthcare service centre in Stoke, and our Wardles, which is a smaller distribution centre looking at medical supplies, where we've got about 250 people in total. And then we've got head office, our central support office in Manchester, with circa 230 people, and a small Bristol hub, which is small but growing and currently has about 35 people working there. So that gives us a variety of stakeholders, and it gives us volume as well as kind of small niche recruitment needs, which is something we enjoy tackling. So as a business, we have, as you'd expect, we have a business plan. We call this plan on a page. So it's got our vision, our mission, and we're very much an ambitious business with ambitious owners who are looking for us to grow and invest in us. The challenge is that as a predominantly NHS provider of services, pharmacy services, this means most of our income is fixed. Therefore, when challenges come along, such as pharmacy funding cuts, national living wage, apprenticeship levy, etc., these things hit our bottom line straight away because we can't put the price of a prescription up, for example, in such a regulated market. We also just can't open new pharmacies because it is a hugely regulated market, and there has to be a real need in any given location to get that permission and approval to open pharmacies. Therefore, it's only by acquisition that you can grow in terms of the pharmacy side. So what we're looking to grow are other areas of the business, such as our managed care business, WellCare Plus, and our business-to-business Best Way Med Hub, which is our business-to-business providing, obviously, stock to independent pharmacies. So we can move away from the reliance on NHS funding through our standard kind of pharmacies. The other opportunities we have are around efficiencies. So we're actually quite an inefficient business, and that gives us a huge opportunity, particularly in the current market with the headwinds I described. So where we can fund our growth will be through finding efficiencies across the business. And recruitment is a great example where these can be seen. So 12 months ago, the team was circa kind of 25 people, lots of temporary staff in there, doing lots of what we would expect hiring managers to do today. And using a very inefficient system to do that on. So we've managed to streamline that hugely down to a team of circa 9 people at the moment using the new system that which I'll come on to describe. So supporting our business plan and the plan on a page that I described, we also have a people plan. This splits into 3 buckets. So we've got treated well, trained well and organised well. The people plan and the strategy that sits behind it allows us to really focus on key areas linked obviously with our people, HR, different HR areas, and recruitment is a huge part of this as we look to transform how we attract talent into the business and how we manage that going forwards. So going back to September 2015, I produced this slide which describes historically the challenges that we faced, and those were many and varied, including really looking to move away from a shared service culture that we had under Cox. That's how it was run as a recruitment shared services function, to more of an in-house recruiting function that requires line managers to really own their candidates and own the process. Other challenges that we faced were, as I say, were kind of varied. So we looked at how we can move away from being reactive to more proactive. And we looked at the technology that we use, and that came about in terms of the new ATS that we've adopted with WCN, because we knew that the technology platform we had, the ATS platform we had, just wasn't fit for the future. So we spent a lot of time then working out our strategy and looking at a partner in terms of application tracking systems that can really support what we were aiming to do. Our new resourcing strategy that myself and the team developed some months ago is a really simple strategy that covers 5 key areas that we are confident will, if we focus on, will really move us forward as a business in terms of resourcing and attracting the best talent. At the centre of it, as you'll see, is a great candidate experience. That's something we've never really focused on. And in the days of kind of shared service centres and volume recruitment, which was greater than it is today, it's something that really suffered as a business. And we all know that, having a great candidate experience and really looking after our candidates will be key to really attracting and offering and retaining the best talent. The other parts of the process, as you can see, are simple and efficient processes, which I've described are really key as we kind of become a leaner organisation and really try to kind of become as efficient as possible and automate as much as possible. Effective attraction is really key for us. So going back a few months, we were really reliant on 2 mainstream job boards for virtually all of our vacancies. So the team would have that available. They would put an advert on for 2 weeks for any given role. And if we didn't get many responses or inadequate responses, all we could really do was put an advert back on the same 2 job boards for 2 weeks. Clearly that's not going to really move us forward in terms of recruitment. So we spent a lot of time looking at the kind of advertising market and seeing what was right for us. Seeing what our competitors do and seeing what's coming down the line in terms of social media, etc. So that's something we're still developing, but we now have much more opportunities and a varied attraction methods available for our recruitment team. We also have hiring manager-led as a key part of our 5-point strategy. And this is a really important challenge for us that we really need to engage our line managers and our hiring managers, that they are key to the success of recruitment across the business. Historically, hiring managers didn't really have to take much of an active part. They could rely on central support function or shared service function to make the offers, to contact the candidates, to do all the CV screening, etc. We've now automated much of that with the new ATS WCN system, which is great for our candidates, great for our hiring managers. And now we're going through that process, that slow process of cultural change really, to get line managers to own the candidate experience and own the end-to-end recruitment. And that's an ongoing challenge and probably our biggest challenge. To help them with that, the final part of our strategy is around robust candidate selection. And this is where we're trying to help line managers in terms of the quality of their recruitment by giving them a better shortlist, a more capable shortlist of candidates. So one option is we could have spent a lot of time really trying to upskill our hiring managers, and in the long term we will refocus on that area. However, in the short term I felt the quickest way that we could improve our recruitment was to provide, as I say, hiring managers for our volume recruitment, our store-based recruitment, with a much better, higher capable, if you like, candidate shortlist. So we used some situational judgment questions which we built into the ATS system. From a business psychologist that we work with who helped develop them. And we're having huge success. So they're just 5 simple questions that candidates go on, multi-choice questions. Everything's the right answer, but they're weighted. And that's allowing us to really see the different behaviours of candidates and the choices they make in any given kind of customer-based situation. So that's scored, and then the hiring manager can see what the scores were. There's a cut-off to reject candidates automatically, and then the successful candidates go through to a shortlist. And we feel that that's a great way, and it's proving to be, it's early days, but proving to be a great way for our hiring managers to get a better shortlist of candidates. So as I said a few moments ago, we knew that we needed really a new ATS system to support our vision for future recruitment and our strategy that we were developing. And actually, when I took this role, to be honest, I really had a chat with my HR director around the need for an ATS, and almost the role would be impossible without a new ATS system, and luckily she agreed. So we went for a full RFI process to have a look at what was out there. We began to build a picture of the type of functionality that we needed, and we met with numerous suppliers. We then shortlisted that down to 3 and went through some really in-depth workshops with 3 suppliers, including WCN, who were obviously the final supplier that we chose. We chose WCN because we felt they most closely matched our needs. And it was really important for me that we found a supplier that could enable and support our strategy as opposed to dictate our ways of working or our processes and strategies. So that was really clear. And WCN product, which is really flexible, was good value for money, so it was within our budget, has really enabled us to have an ATS that we've managed to configure and really supports our kind of new processes and new ways of working. So as part of this presentation, I thought it would be useful to describe the top 5 lessons learned as we implemented a new ATS. The first one of that is to not be tempted to rush. I think there's always a burning platform, there's always a huge need for something like this that you know will improve the business and improve recruitment in the case of an ATS. But certainly what we found was if we take our time, if we're really clear about our needs, then we've got the best chance of success going forwards. The other point that links to that is taking the time to find the right supplier to partner with. So there are loads and loads of ATS suppliers out there. Just a quick scan on Google and you'll see numerous pages of them. So really key is to find the right supplier, because obviously that will enable a much smoother transition to a new system and as you build the new system for your business. The other key point is to be really completely happy with the spec document that you build, because that's the key, if you like, to building a system that's really fit for your needs. The spec document is a really detailed document that you may need some external support, some consultancy support to really get a robust document that absolutely will deliver the system that you need. And that's the document that WCN or your ATS provider will absolutely use to build every bit of functionality. Linked to that really is to upskill and understand the parts of the system that you're able to configure depending on the system that you purchase. So with WCN, we found it to be a hugely configurable, flexible system. What we didn't realise very early on was the ability that we have to configure that system. So we could have been in a position where we ended up using consultants or using WCN and paying unnecessary funds to configure parts of the system that actually we found we could configure. And that's proved hugely useful and cost effective for us. And finally, don't underestimate the engagement required to land. The real challenge with I found with a recruitment system, a new recruitment system and new ways of working, is the hiring manager engagement. That's a challenge in 2 ways. Number one, a hiring manager only becomes a hiring manager when they have a vacancy. So your average manager isn't that engaged, and your average manager doesn't really care, I found, that much about recruitment and what's going on until they have a vacancy and a need. So that's the first one, is how to target your engagement and your communication, your training, and what platforms to use so it's accessible when they need it. The second part of that is almost the vicious circle of recruitment or in-house recruitment, and that is it's always the less capable, if you like, the worst managers who have the most recruitment needs. They have the least engagement, they have the least performance, and they struggle to fit recruitment into everything else they're trying to balance as they go through. So bearing those things in mind will help you hopefully come up with a really strong engagement plan, and that's key to landing, we found, to landing a successful ATS launch. My final slide just describes the things we're looking at for the future in terms of where recruitment within Well will go and our kind of technology requirements. The first one, which I think is a simple step, will be to actually link the ATS system with our core HR system. That will provide a real seamless kind of data transaction between the two. So at the moment, candidates log into the WCN ATS system, and then when they become an employee, they log into the HR system that we have. And going forwards, we can have that so they just log in and the data will transfer automatically across. At the moment, there is a manual interface. The next part of our plan is a full rework of our EVP, our employer branding and proposition. This is really key as a kind of relatively unknown brand, as I say, but of size and scale. Having a really strong EVP is going to be key for us in terms of future success with recruitment, and that's something we need to do a lot of work on. Going back to technology, we currently do telephone screening for our management vacancies. We'd very much like to move this to video screening, and we know there's more and more technology out there that can link with our systems to do this. So that's something we're going to explore in the next 12 months. Following the success of our SJQs for our volume recruitment that I was describing earlier, I'm also keen to explore how we can roll out more kind of psychometric or situational judgment testing, more online testing to help all different vacancies. So that'll be interesting to see where that takes us. And finally, what I see as the holy grail of internal recruitment, or probably recruitment, is about how we can become more proactive and less reactive. So historically we've been 100% reactive. And we're already seeing very early signs of being able to become more proactive. And this is something that we really want to work on as a business, and hope to kind of eventually have a split of kind of 50-50 proactive, reactive. So those are the key points that we're looking at for the future going forwards.